In the year 2257, the vast silence of space was shattered by an ominous broadcast, its signal slicing through the ether to reach every human habitat from Mars to the distant colonies on Europa. The message was from the Krelln Empire, a galactic power whose might had been whispered in the back rooms of human politics but never directly confronted. The transmission, devoid of any diplomatic niceties, was stark. Your species will submit to the dominion of the Krelln Empire or face annihilation. Your decision must be made within one Earth solar cycle. Humanity, once scattered and divided, now faced an existential threat that could unite or obliterate them. The United Earth Alliance, UEA, convened an emergency session in the orbital station, Nexus 1. The room was filled with tension, the air thick with the scent of fear and resolve. At the head of the table sat Commander Alara Vance, her eyes reflecting a storm of thought. Known for her strategic genius in the Luna Uprising, Vance had been the youngest ever to hold the rank of commander. Her silver hair, a testament to the years spent in space, contrasted sharply with her youthful, determined face. Around her, the room buzzed with debate. Politicians, scientists, and military leaders argued over the feasibility of surrender versus the improbability of victory. The screens displayed projections of Krelln's military might, ships that dwarfed human technology, weapons with capabilities beyond human comprehension. Vance, however, was silent, her gaze piercing through the chaos towards a future she was beginning to see. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more daring than the last. She knew surrender was not only a death sentence, but an erasure of humanity's essence, its freedom, its spirit. The decision was monumental, one that could mean the survival or extinction of the species. Vance stood, her voice cutting through the din like a laser through steel. We will not submit. We will fight, or we will die as humans. Her declaration was met with a mix of applause and murmurs of dissent. She knew there were factions within the UEA that would consider the path of peace, even if it meant subjugation. This was the first inkling of betrayal, a shadow that would grow darker as the war unfolded. In the silence that followed, Vance outlined a plan. She spoke of new technologies, of alliances with fringe species oppressed by the Krelln, of secret weapons that could turn the tide. Her vision was not just for survival, but for revenge, for a statement that humanity would not be cowed or conquered. The room was divided. Some saw her plan as madness, others as salvation. Vance, however, saw it as the only path forward. She would need to navigate through political intrigue, espionage, and the hard reality of war. The first order was to secure the allegiance of the Taraxians, a species known for their guerrilla tactics in space, which could be pivotal in the asymmetrical warfare that lay ahead. As the meeting adjourned, the weight of her decision bore down on her. Vance knew that to achieve victory, she would have to make sacrifices, perhaps even betray those she trusted. The path she chose was fraught with danger, not just from the Krelln, but from within, where the seeds of betrayal had already been planted. The solar cycle was ticking down, and with it, the countdown to war, or the last stand of humanity. As Vance left the room, her mind was not on the potential defeat, but on how to exact the revenge humanity deserved. The story of human defiance was about to unfold, with her at its epicenter, navigating through the storm of war, betrayal, and the quest for vengeance. The silence of space was broken by the hum of human industry. Mars, once red and desolate, now glowed with the fires of war factories. Luna's surface was dotted with shipyards, while Earth, the cradle of humanity, was transforming into an arsenal. Commander Alara Vance stood at the edge of the newly constructed command center on Mars, her gaze fixed on the stars. The message from the Krell had galvanized humanity, but the path to war was fraught with challenges. Beside her, Dr. Alaric Chen, the chief scientist of the UEA, was deep in conversation with a holographic display of intricate designs. The quantum disruptor could be our key, Alara. It disrupts the enemy's ability to navigate through hyperspace, but we need more time. We don't have time, Vance replied, her voice firm, yet carrying the weight of the burden she bore. We need it operational by the end of this week. The Krell won't wait. The urgency was palpable. Vance knew that while they prepared, spies could be anywhere. She had to trust her team, yet the shadows of betrayal lingered in her mind. A meeting was called with key figures: Admiral Joran, a tactical mastermind; Ambassador Liana, a diplomat who had secured the tentative alliance with the Taraxians; and General Marquez, who had the toughest job of preparing Earth's defenses. Joran spoke first, his hologram flickering with the intensity of his words. We've started deploying our new cloaking technology. It's not perfect, but it will give us an edge in surprise attacks. And the Taraxians? Vance asked, looking at Liana. They're with us, but at a cost. They want a seat at the table, post-war, Liana said, her tone hinting at the complex negotiations. They also brought intelligence. The Krell are planning a preemptive strike on our shipyards. Marquez slammed his fist on the table. We can't let them destroy what we've built. We need to fortify now. Vance nodded, her mind racing. Alaric, can we accelerate the production of the disruptor? Chen sighed. It's risky. We're pushing the limits of our tech, but we'll try. The conversation turned to espionage. Vance revealed her concerns. There are whispers of a faction within the UEA wanting peace at any cost. We need to be vigilant. Joran leaned forward, his expression grave. I have had my suspicions about certain council members. We need to tighten our security, Alara. Agreed, Vance said, her eyes scanning each face. And we need to keep this alliance with the Taraxians secret. If the Krell know, they'll target them first. As the meeting adjourned, Vance felt the weight of leadership. She knew the path she was choosing would lead to sacrifices. Later, in a clandestine meeting with the Taraxian leader, Karax, Vance discussed the upcoming battle. Your people will fight alongside us? Karax, his scales shimmering under the dim light, nodded. We have much to gain from a Krell defeat, but, Commander Vance, if humanity falls, so do we. This alliance must be based on trust. Vance felt the sting of irony. Here she was, asking for trust while suspecting it within her own ranks. Then we must ensure neither of our species falls, she responded, her resolve hardening. The days following were a blur of preparation, espionage, and strategic planning. Vance worked tirelessly, her mind never resting. She knew the first strike would set the tone for the entire war. They needed to hit hard, disrupt, and show the Krell that humanity was not to be underestimated. As the deadline approached, the tension within the UEA reached a boiling point. Vance received a message from an anonymous source. Beware, the enemy is closer than you think. The intrigue deepened, the stakes were raised, and the first battle loomed. Humanity's preparation was not just about weapons and ships, but about forging a united front against an enemy that sought to erase them from existence. The story of human defiance was about to take its first dramatic step into the theater of war, with Vance at its heart, leading her people into the unknown. The void between stars was no longer silent. It was filled with the hum of engines, the crackle of communication, and the silent prayers of those about to engage in humanity's first counterstrike against the Krelln Empire. Commander Alara Vance stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, her flagship, her gaze fixed on the holographic display showing the Oort cloud, the battleground for humanity's defiant stand. Beside her, Admiral Joran was orchestrating the fleet's movements with precision, his voice steady over the comms. "All ships, prepare for quantum disruption. We hit them hard and fast." The human fleet was a marvel of hurried innovation. Ships equipped with the newly developed quantum disruptor, cloaking devices flickering in and out, giving them the semblance of ghosts in the night. "We've got incoming signals," reported Lieutenant Saito, his fingers flying over the console. "Krelln scouts. They're probing our defenses." Vance nodded. "Let them see nothing. We strike when they least expect." Her plan was audacious. Use the disruptor to paralyze the Krelln's hyperspace capabilities, then unleash a barrage from cloaked ships. But the Krelln weren't unprepared. As the human fleet moved into position, alarms blared. "Commander, we've got Krelln warships decloaking! They were hiding in the cloud!" exclaimed Joran, his calm facade cracking. "Engage!" Vance ordered. The human ships shimmered into view, firing a volley of disruptor missiles. The space around the Krelln ships lit up like a dying star, their navigation systems going haywire. But the Krelln had their own surprises. A massive ship, unlike any seen before, emerged from the chaos, its hull bristling with weapons. "That must be the Star Eater," whispered Chen, who had joined the bridge for this critical moment. A beam of pure energy shot from the Krelln vessel, targeting one of the human destroyers. The ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, its atoms scattered across space. "Countermeasures!" Vance yelled, as the human fleet scattered, trying to avoid the deadly beam. In the midst of the battle, a smaller Krelln ship broke through, heading straight for the Vanguard. Vance's first officer, Commander Talia, took immediate action. "I'll lead the intercept. Keep the flagship safe." "Talia, no!" Vance shouted, but it was too late. Talia's ship engaged the Krelln craft, a fierce duel that ended with both ships entangled in a deadly dance, crashing into an asteroid. The silence after the impact was deafening. Vance's heart sank, but there was no time for grief. The battle raged on, with human ships now using hit-and-run tactics, the quantum disruptor giving them brief windows of advantage. Amidst the chaos, a twist of fate struck. A coded message from Earth reached Vance. "Traitor among us. Be cautious." The suspicion of betrayal that had lingered in Vance's mind now had substance. Who could it be? She trusted her crew, but the message was clear. As the Krelln started to regain control, Vance made a split-second decision. "All ships, retreat to fallback position Alpha 3. We've done what we came for. They know we're not easy prey." The human fleet began its withdrawal, leaving behind a battlefield littered with debris, a testament to their ferocity and loss. The cost had been high. Many ships were lost, and among them, Talia, a friend, and one of the best commanders Vance had known. Back on the Vanguard, Vance convened with her remaining officers. "We've struck them, but this is just the beginning. They'll come with everything now," she said, her voice tinged with both determination and sorrow. Dr. Chen, analyzing the data from the Star Eater, added, "We've got to find a way to counter that weapon. It's like nothing we've seen." Joran, looking over the casualty list, spoke quietly. "And we need to find this traitor before they strike from within." The intrigue deepened. The battle at the Oort cloud was not just a physical clash, but a psychological one. Vance knew that every move now had to be calculated, every trust questioned. The war had begun, and with it, the silent but deadly game of espionage and betrayal within her own ranks. As the human fleet regrouped, the stars seemed to watch, silent witnesses to the unfolding saga of humanity's fight for survival, revenge, and the reclamation of their right to exist. Earth, the cradle of humanity, had never felt so vulnerable. The sky was no longer a canvas of blue, but was instead marred by the dark shapes of Krellan ships. The siege had begun, the Krellan's retaliation swift and brutal after the human strike at the Oort cloud. Commander Alara Vance watched from the orbital station, Nexus 1, as Earth's defense grid activated, a lattice of light and energy forming a shield that had never been tested to this extent. Her heart ached for the losses, for Talia, for the countless others who had fallen. "We knew they'd come for Earth," said Admiral Joran, his eyes on the tactical display. "But not like this, not with such numbers." The Krellan had brought their full might, including the dreaded Star Eater. Their ships, like dark clouds, were casting long shadows over cities, their weapons raining down destruction.
"Commander, we are receiving distress calls from New York, Tokyo, and Mumbai. They're hitting the major population centers," reported Lieutenant Saito, his voice strained. "We need to evacuate as many civilians as possible," Vance ordered, "and prepare for ground engagements. They might try to land troops." The ground battles were fierce. Human resistance, inspired by Vance's earlier defiance, became a symbol of Earth's unyielding spirit. In the ruins of what was once Central Park, now a battlefield, Vance led from the front, her presence a beacon of hope. "Hold this line!" she shouted over the chaos, her combat suit reflecting the fires around her. "For every one of us, they'll lose 10. But the Krellan had more than numbers. They had technology. Their ground forces were equipped with exosuits that turned them into giants among men. In the midst of the battle, Vance received an encrypted message from an unknown source. "Your friend, Commander Talia, is alive. Captured, not dead." "Krellan, have her."
Vance's heart leapt with a mix of relief and dread.
"We need to mount a rescue," she told Joran, who was coordinating the defense from above. "But it could be a trap." "Every move we make now could be," Joran replied gravely. "But we can't leave her to them." The plan was risky, a daring raid on a Krellan prison ship orbiting Mars. Vance chose her best, a small team led by her, knowing the mission could either be their salvation or their doom. Meanwhile, intrigue brewed within the UEA. Ambassador Liana, who had secured the Taraxian alliance, approached Vance with whispers of a conspiracy. "There's talk of a faction within the council wanting to surrender. They've been in covert talks with the Krellan." Vance's trust in her leadership was tested. "Who?" she demanded. "I don't know yet, but I'll find out," Liana promised, her usually calm demeanor showing the strain of the situation. As Vance prepared for the rescue mission, the sky over Earth lit up with a new horror. The Star Eater was powering up, its beam aimed at the planetary shield. If it broke through, Earth would be at the mercy of the Krellan's wrath. The rescue team, cloaked and silent, approached the Krellan ship. The mission was tense. Every shadow could hide an enemy. They found Talia, but not without a fight. The escape was a close call, with Vance herself nearly captured. Back on Earth, the shield held, but barely. The cost was enormous in lives and infrastructure. Vance,
now with Talia by her side, confronted the reality of their situation. "We can't defend Earth forever like this," she said to her inner circle. "We need to take the fight to them." The revelation of Talia's survival, the looming threat of betrayal within their ranks, and the strategic necessity to strike back at the Krelln set the stage for humanity's next move. Earth was under siege, but the human spirit, like their shield, was not broken yet. The fight for survival continued, with every decision now shadowed by intrigue and the heavy price of war. The scars of Earth's siege were still fresh, the air heavy with the scent of burnt metal and the cries of a planet wounded but not defeated. Commander Alara Vance, alongside the newly rescued Commander Talia, stood in what was left of the UEA's command center, now relocated underground for safety. "The shield won't hold another direct hit from the Star Eater," Vance stated, her eyes scanning the maps littered with red marks indicating Krelln occupation. "We need to hit them where they're vulnerable, their supply lines, their morale." Talia, looking more determined than ever after her ordeal, added, "And we need to do it with everything we've got. No holding back." The plan was audacious. Use guerrilla tactics in space, hit the Krelln where they least expect it, and disrupt their supply routes to the front lines. It was a strategy born out of desperation and ingenuity, leveraging the human fleet's newfound cloaking technology. "We've got an asset," Joran chimed in, his hologram joining the meeting. "The Taraxians have intel on a major Krelln resupply hub near the Sirius system." Vance's eyes lit up with a fierce light. "Perfect. We'll make them think we're still licking our wounds on Earth while we strike their heart." But the shadows of betrayal loomed large. Liana, now working undercover to expose the traitors, whispered to Vance, "I've narrowed it down to 3 council members. One of them is feeding the Krelln our plans." "Who?" Vance asked, her voice low. "I'm close, but I need more time," Liana replied, her face etched with concern. Time, however, was a luxury they didn't have. The counteroffensive was set in motion, ships cloaked and moving silently through space. The battle at Sirius was fierce, the Krelln caught off guard by the ferocity and stealth of the human attack. "Hit their fuel depots, then scatter," Vance commanded over the comms, her voice echoing through the fleet. The space around Sirius turned into a maelstrom of fire and destruction as human ships darted in and out, striking like phantoms. In the chaos, Vance received a distress signal from one of their ships, the Harbinger. "We're being boarded. It's an inside job. Someone on this ship betrayed us." Vance's heart sank. The intrigue was now bleeding into their operations. She ordered, "All ships, be on high alert for traitors. Secure your vessels." The battle was a success in terms of damage inflicted on the Krelln, but at a cost. The Harbinger was lost, and the suspicion within the ranks grew. Back on Earth, the victory at Sirius was a beacon of hope, but it was overshadowed by the ongoing hunt for the traitor. Liana, working tirelessly, finally had a breakthrough. "Counselor Mendez. He's been in contact with the Krelln since before the war started." Vance felt a mix of vindication and betrayal. "Arrest him. Quietly. We can't afford another scandal." The arrest was swift, but the damage was done. The Krelln, now aware of human tactics, began to adapt. The counteroffensive had bought humanity some time, but at what cost? As Vance watched the replays of the battle, she knew this was just one step in a long war. "We've shown them we can fight back," she said to Talia and Joran, who had joined her. "But this is just the beginning. We need to be smarter, more cunning." The intrigue within the UEA had been partially resolved, but the seeds of distrust had been sown. The human spirit was resilient, but the war was far from over. Every victory, every loss, was shaping humanity into something new, something forged in the fires of revenge and survival. The counteroffensive had ended, but the next chapter of this epic struggle was just beginning, with Vance leading humanity into the unknown, where every ally could be an enemy, and every victory could herald a greater challenge. In the shadow of their recent victory, a new threat loomed over humanity. Intelligence from the Taraxians suggested the Krellin were developing a weapon that could end the war in one catastrophic strike, a device capable of collapsing stars into supernovas, dubbed the Starfall Protocol. Commander Alara Vance, feeling the weight of each revelation, convened her closest allies in the depths of a secret bunker. "We can't let this weapon see the light of day," she declared, her voice echoing off the cold metal walls.
"We've pinpointed the likely location of their research facility," Dr. Chen said, pointing at a holographic map. "It's on a desolate moon in the Kleptor system, heavily guarded." Joran, his strategic mind already at work, added, "We can't just attack head-on. We need to infiltrate, gather intel, and sabotage from within." The plan was set. A small, elite team would infiltrate, with Vance leading the mission. The stakes couldn't be higher. If they failed, humanity might face extinction. As they prepared, Liana brought troubling news. "There's another traitor. Someone high up. They know about this mission." Vance's jaw clenched. "Then we keep our circle tight. No one knows our exact plan except us."
The journey to Kleptor was tense. Every ship movement could betray them. Using every trick at their disposal, including a newly developed silent engine technology, they approached the moon under the cloak of darkness. On the ground, the team moved like shadows, avoiding patrols and using EMP devices to disable security systems. The facility was a labyrinth of technology and Krellin soldiers. "We're close," whispered Talia through their comms, her voice barely audible over the hum of machinery. They found the lab, filled with alien tech that pulsed with ominous energy. But as they began to plant explosives, alarms blared. "We've been compromised!" Joran hissed. Vance, with a quick decision, ordered, "Everyone, out now! We'll blow this from a distance!" As they ran, the air filled with the sound of pursuit. A firefight erupted in the narrow corridors, bullets and energy beams crisscrossing. Vance took a hit, but kept moving, her suit's armor absorbing most of the impact. Outside, with the team barely clear, Vance triggered the explosives. The facility erupted in a blinding light, a silent testament to their success or failure. "We did it!" Chen gasped, relief washing over his features as they watched the explosion from a safe distance. But the victory was short-lived. A Krellin ship, alerted by the explosion, descended upon them. "Scatter!" Vance yelled, as they split into smaller groups to evade capture. In the chaos, they realized not all would make it back. Vance, with her team, fought their way to an escape shuttle, the air around them thick with debris and the screams of conflict. "You go! I'll cover you!" Vance shouted to Joran, who hesitated but complied, knowing the mission's success hinged on their survival. Vance stayed behind, buying them time with her last stand. She fought with the ferocity of someone who knew the cost of failure, her shots precise, her movements a blur. The shuttle lifted off, leaving Vance to face an overwhelming number of Krellin. Her last transmission was a mix of triumph and fin. The aftermath of the Kleptor mission left humanity in a precarious position, with Vance considered lost to the cause. However, the destruction of the Starfall Protocol bought them time, a brief respite in the storm of war. Admiral Joran, now leading the human forces, knew this was their chance. With the weapon gone, the Krelln's morale was shaken. He planned an all-out assault on Krelln Prime, the heart of their empire, aiming to end the war decisively. The fleet, a mosaic of human ingenuity and desperation, moved silently through space, their ships cloaked by technology that was now more refined, a testament to Vance's legacy. As they approached Krelln Prime, the intrigue within the ranks surfaced once again. A coded message from an unknown source reached Joran. "Beware, the enemy within has not fully revealed themselves." The assault began with a barrage of disruptor missiles, the sky over Krelln Prime lighting up in a deadly dance of light and destruction. Human ships, like dark phantoms, descended, cutting through the Krelln defenses. In the chaos, an unexpected betrayal unfolded. One of the human ships, the Liberator, suddenly turned its weapons on its own kind, revealing the presence of a traitor within their ranks. The ship, under the command of Captain Reyes, a name once trusted, had been compromised. The battle turned into a maelstrom of betrayal and heroism. Joran, learning of the treachery, ordered the Liberator destroyed, his heart heavy with the necessity of such an order. The ship exploded, a bright star in the night, taking Reyes and his conspiracy with it. The fight for Krelln Prime was fierce. Ground forces, led by Talia, who had taken up Vance's mantle of leadership on the battlefield, pushed into the city. Each street, each building, was a new front line. Talia discovered a secret lab, not on any map, hidden beneath the city. Inside, she found plans for another devastating weapon, one that could still turn the tide if activated. She made the call to destroy it, knowing the cost could be high. Joran, from orbit, saw the opportunity to end this once and for all. He initiated an overload of the Krelln's own planetary defense systems, turning them into a weapon against themselves. The resulting explosion was cataclysmic, ripping through Krelln Prime's core. But victory came with a terrible price. As Krelln Prime began to crumble, the ground team, including Talia, fought to escape the collapsing city. In the chaos, Talia was caught under debris, her last act ensuring the data on the new weapon was transmitted to Joran. Joran, watching from above, knew he had to leave. The planet was dying, and with it, the Krelln Empire. He gave the order to retreat, his voice breaking over the comms. "We've done what we came for. Humanity will survive." As the human fleet withdrew, the planet's destruction was complete. The war was nearly over, but the cost was immeasurable. Vance's sacrifice at Kleptor, the betrayal by Reyes, and now Talia's likely death, each a chapter in the saga of human resilience and loss. The human ships, their numbers significantly reduced, limped back towards their own space. The Krelln Empire was in disarray, their control shattered, but the victory felt hollow, the price of revenge steep. The story of humanity's defiance was reaching its climax, but at what cost? The future was uncertain, the wounds of war deep. Yet, from the ashes of Krelln Prime, a new chapter for humanity would begin, one shaped by the sacrifices of its heroes. The stars bore witness to the end of an era as the remnants of the human fleet returned from the devastation of Krelln Prime. Earth, its shield still flickering from the recent assaults, awaited news with bated breath. The war room in Nexus 1 was silent, the tension palpable as Admiral Joran entered, his face etched with the fatigue of battle and the weight of command. "We've done it," Joran announced to the gathered leaders, his voice a mixture of relief and sorrow. "Krell Prime is gone. Their empire is shattered." Cheers erupted, but they were muted, overshadowed by the losses. The room was a stark reminder of the cost. Empty chairs where Vance and Talia should have been.
"We've received Talia's final transmission," Dr. Chen said, his usual composure broken. "She managed to sabotage what could have been another doomsday weapon. She saved us in the end."
The news of Talia's sacrifice hung heavy, mingling with the relief of victory. The celebration was more a memorial than a triumph. Amidst the somber mood, intrigue still lingered. Liana, who had been working tirelessly to root out all traces of betrayal, approached Joran.
"There's one last thing. We've found another mole, high up in our ranks. A council member, Harland." Joran's eyes narrowed. "How deep does this go?"
"It ends with him," Liana assured. "We've secured all sensitive information. He won't compromise us again." The arrest of Harland was swift and silent, ensuring the final betrayal was buried with the war. With the immediate threat neutralized, the focus turned to rebuilding. The war had changed humanity, not just in its physical landscape, but in its spirit. Joran, now stepping into the role of leader, knew the victory was as much about what they would become as what they had defeated.
"We need to honor those who gave everything," Joran declared to the council. "Vance, Talia, all of them. Their legacy will be our guide as we move forward."
A grand memorial was planned, where humanity would not only mourn, but celebrate the defiance and courage that had defined their struggle. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The Krell remnants, leaderless and scattered, were no longer a threat. Other species, once oppressed by the Krell, began to seek alliances with humanity, recognizing them as liberators rather than conquerors. Joran, standing before the newly formed Galactic Alliance, spoke with a voice that carried the weight of his experiences. "We fought not just for survival, but for the right to choose our destiny. Let this alliance be a testament to that freedom." The speech was met with nods and murmurs of agreement. Humanity was no longer just a species on the brink, but a beacon of resilience and leadership. However, the peace was not without its challenges. The scars of war were deep, with many planets requiring aid and reconstruction. Joran knew that the true victory would be in how they healed, how they rebuilt. One evening, as the sun set over a recovering Earth, Joran visited a new monument dedicated to Vance and Talia. The names of all who fell were etched into the stone, a silent chorus of heroes. "You would have been proud, Alara," Joran whispered to the wind, his eyes reflecting the setting sun. "Humanity chose revenge, but in the end, we chose to rebuild, to unite." In the quiet, a child, perhaps too young to understand the full weight of the war, placed a flower at the base of the monument. Joran watched, a symbol of the future looking back at the past. The war was over, but the story of humanity's defiance was just beginning a new chapter. From revenge to redemption, from survival to leadership, the legacy of fire left by Vance and her comrades would burn bright, guiding humanity into an era of peace, unity, and exploration among the stars. Thus, humanity won not just the war, but also the right to shape its future, a future where every star in the sky was a potential home, a testament to the indomitable human spirit.